You feel it everywhere in your body. Like, there's been many times where you think like, oh my goodness, am I going to pass out here?
Is this as hard as it looks? Because every time I see it on TV, I'm like, wow, that looks hard.
No, it's definitely way harder than it looks. Something that we, aim to do is to have that performance, the making it look easy. Oh, we're just lightly treading water and going upside down, doing things with our arms. It looks very like anyone could do it. But in real life, there's so much going on underwater. Like with each part of our body, we're upside down. We hold ourselves through sculling, so with our hands, with our hand movements. So we have things going on with our arms while we're upside down, doing things with our legs. We're counting, we're looking around, adjusting to each other, listening to the music. And it is a sport, so it is quite difficult.
At the end of a routine, are you just dying?
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest, throughout the whole routine, and then the second you finish, you're gasping for air, you're trying to keep your calm sort of thing while you swim off, like, but you feel it everywhere in your body. Like, there's been many times where you think like, oh my goodness, am I going to pass out here? No, like you're not, but it's kind of that, it's always in your brain.
How did people get into it? How did you get into it?
Well, I grew up with a backyard pool, so I always loved swimming, and we did it as a family all the time. And then in grade 4 or 5, I got like a see it, try it pamphlet brought to my school. So we just went to give it a shot, and I started in the rec program. And I just really remember like loving being in the water. I like that it's super artistic, like it's like a dance kind of performing. It's fun, but also it's so technical, and I liked like learning all the positions and setting goals for myself individually, but also coming together as a team and just being with your teammates. And I just had a lot of fun from the beginning. I just remember liking the sport and wanting to see how far I could go in it.
Do most people who do it, do they come from other sports, or no, you start in or in artistic swimming and you stay in artistic swimming?
It's more of a you start when you're young and you have to, well, you don't have to, but you continue. For someone to start at, I don't know, say older, 15 or in your 20s, it's really hard because it's so much body awareness and just getting used to being in the water, holding yourself in the water, and then what am I doing with my hands so I can spin, so I can be high. Like you want your legs to be high to the water, and it's just a sport like any sport, but it just takes a lot of years and a lot of time. So
How do you throw somebody in the air out of water? Like, I don't, that blows my mind. And it's not just a little bit, like, people are doing flips. How do you do that?
first of all, a lot of people think we're pushing off the bottom of the pool, so just want to clear that up. We are not touching the water, the bottom ever. We're in a pretty deep pool, so there's different formations. Like sometimes we do something where there's like a base person and then someone's on top standing on your shoulders, and then we have all the girls kind of like holding the base's feet and like pushing their bum, and we all push at one time, and we can do a stand, or the person on the shoulders will stand up and like maybe put her leg in the air, or we turn, we'll do a 360. That's more like the stable highlights. But if we're doing the throws, it's kind of like in cheerleading. We call it the bunk in or the basket, but like in cheerleading, you can see like two girls just like grabbing hands like this, and you have feet underneath you, and the person's on top, and you're all just like connected, rising together, like with the momentum, and then really like strongly you throw, and the girl has to jump and like feel the momentum from underwater and just does what she does in the air. So yeah, it's a huge team effort. It's very intricate, and like it takes really good timing. If people aren't pushing full force at the same time, like it's not going to work to the best of your ability. It looks like the fun, like exciting thing, but it's something that's really hard to do, and like it takes a lot of focus and practice.
I mean, I've been watching the Olympics for long enough, right? Like 3 decades. Is the throwing a recent thing? I don't remember that when I was like a kid.
It's like before we only had two programs, the technical program and the free program, and there would be a couple highlights, like probably 2 to 6 in each of them. But now we have a third program called the acrobatic routine, and that one's really just based on your acrobatics. So there'll be 7 acros that we do. They're all different kinds, and like that's where we see more throwing and different, like sometimes we have a platform where it's basically like one or two girls on the surface, everybody holding them up, and then someone like standing on top doing things. We have rotations going on, like everything's evolved so much. So definitely at this Olympics, you're going to see a lot more highlights and people in the air, people doing lots of flexibility, lots of stuff.
So how is it judged?
There's three aspects to it. There's artistic impression, which you're interacting with the judges, with the audience. It's your facial expressions, like you're telling a story with whatever your routine theme is. Like you're trying to pull everybody in and tell your story. That's the artistic impression that's being judged. Then we have execution, which is just like how well your routine's executed, how high you are. You want to be high out of the water. Um, how your line is. Like a lot of times we're doing rotations and you want to have a strong core and like keep stable, I guess. Like sometimes if you're falling over, you're going to get less of a execution score. And then the last thing, which is a new, it's a change to our sport, is the difficulty. Because right now we have changed the whole difficulty system where every time you're underwater, you have to declare your difficulty for your hybrid, is what it's called when you're underwater. So like each movement you do has a different difficulty, and we're basically just doing as much as we can to get the highest difficulty score. And it's a competition between the countries, like how difficult can my routine be.
Like, where do teams usually separate themselves? Like, okay, first place is this, second place is this. Like, what's usually the reason where a team is going to stand out in those different categories or lose it in certain categories?
Well, you'll gain points like being super synchronized with your team, really like engaging the audience, explosiveness, face, like your faces, like your movements, having energy, all that, being high. Like again, the higher you throw someone, the higher your legs out of the water, your egg beater, like where the water level is. If you're tired and by your chin the whole time, you're not gonna really show what you're capable of. But if you're confident and explosive and I'm this high out of the water, like that's where you're gaining points. Losing points, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if you're lower in the water, less points. But also for the difficulty, if you're supposed to complete like a 360 and instead you do a little bit short, like you're going to lose a bunch of points there. And the angles of your legs, if you're supposed to put it out at a 30-degree angle and hold a 30-degree angle, but you accidentally put it out, come a little bit too vertical and go back to the 30, you're going to lose the points there too. So it's just like, it's quite easy to kind of see the differences there, I guess, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like anyway, like we'll stand out if you do a mistake sort of thing. That's where it will be a big difference. Okay, not a mistake, but like, yeah, if you miss a movement or if something isn't the way you'd like it to go and they catch it, that's where it will be like, oh, someone was going to be placed third and now they're all of a sudden in eighth. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
quite dramatic.
So, how popular is it?
It's hard because like I know that it's not super popular. A lot of people have questions about it and haven't really heard about it. But also at the Olympics, I would say it's a pretty well watched event. Like I think the tickets are normally pretty sold out, which may surprise people. But just in general, I don't think it's. I think it could be more popular for sure.
I feel like you can say that about all the Olympic sports, though. Like, I love the 100-meter dash, but I only watch it at the Olympics. Like, it's the Olympics, right? Like, you watch it then. I think there's a lot of sports that you kind of only tune in at those times. Why do you think, though, why isn't it more popular? Like, what do you think that it needs or that it isn't? Like, why isn't it more popular?
I'm not sure. I guess that's a hard question. I think it just maybe needs to be like spoken about more. Like there's so many questions around it. People don't really know what's going on a lot of the time. Like, are you touching the bottom? Like, how do you listen to the music underwater? I always have so many questions. Like, how do you guys stay together? It's like we have an underwater speaker, we hear the music, we're counting. Like, I just don't think there's that much like knowledge about it. So I think just like the more you can what's the word? Yeah, like promote the sport and just like the more people see it and hear about it, I think that will definitely bring the awareness up.
For some harder slash listener submitted questions.
Sure.
How long can you hold your breath?
Some of us can hold our breath for 4 minutes. Myself personally, I don't think I could go over a minute and a half or 2 minutes. But it's what happens is when we're swimming, we'll be underwater for maybe 15 to 35 seconds at a time, moving, sculling, like a lot's happening underwater. Then we come up and we're only breathing for sometimes 4 seconds. Maybe you get 8 seconds. Sometimes it's only a second, like a breath, and then you go back under for maybe another 10 to 20 seconds. Like that's your whole 4 minute routine is okay, I'm underwater. It's not that long. Like it's only 20, 30 seconds, maybe less. Some people, everyone can hold their breath for 20 seconds, I'm sure. But then when you're moving and you come up and you only get like 2 or 3 seconds to recover and you go back under for another 20 seconds, that's where it gets like really difficult because after a minute of that, yeah, your body is pretty fatigued. So
So, like, how long is your average routine?
I would say like around 3 minutes.
So then, when into that would you be like out of breath?
Yeah, it depends, but sometimes it's like 30 seconds in. Like it just depends on the layout of your routine. Like, okay, I'm out of breath already at the beginning because, for example, our program right now, we come up, you start the routine, it's been like 10 seconds, probably not, probably like 8 seconds. You go underwater for 25 seconds. I come up. Now it's only been just over 30 seconds, but I'm gasping for air.
So, from like start to finish, day one routine is introduced. How long does it take before you got like, okay, we got this?
A long time. Like it's I don't even know. Okay, well, before we used to really train our routines for years, like, or not, maybe not years, but like months before you'd compete. Now, with the new rules, like everybody's making their routine more difficult. You have a competition, you redo everything, you change things, you're trying to make it more difficult because every country is going up and you want to keep up with everyone. I know we kind of already touched on this, but it's like out of the water, your expression, your angles of your arm, your precision of your hands. Like, are my hands open? Are they closed? Is my wrist flexed or is it straight? Same with your legs. Like, what exact angle? What are my toes doing? Sometimes they're pointed, they're flexed. Sometimes they're like, you go point flex, like you're switching it every half a second. Then you're moving in between people in the teams. Like, I'm in line with someone, I'm not. We move, we come back, but at the same time, the whole team's moving down the pool. Like, and then you have your sculling, and it is hard to scull sometimes when you have someone so close to you because we have to have our patterns small. Like, you get more points also if you're close. If you're taking up a lot of space, it doesn't look as powerful. And
So, I would imagine, like, would you say you've done your routine by the time you perform it in front of judges? Like hundreds of times?
there's the whole routine you've probably done, yeah, over like right now we're at like 250 times, let's say, not of one routine, but of our three routines. So, like, yes, it's been hundreds of times, but you also have all the little like when you warm up, you don't just get in and do your whole routine and that's it. Like you get in, you warm up sections of your routine, you work on things, then you do your whole routine. So you've also done all these reps on the side.
That's crazy. Do you dream about it? Like, do
Yeah,
you,
I
like,
do. I used to, like, whenever I got stressed, I had multiple dreams in a row of like my coaches or the synchro dream where like you get in the water and you don't remember the routine and you're just like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just in the middle upside down looking around and I'm letting my team down. Like of course everybody's had the synchro nightmare dreams and yeah, it's when it's your life, it's all you do. It comes in once in a while.
do people ever just blank on the routine? Like when you get it down, does it ever just like, I just completely forgot what I was supposed to do here?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like sometimes you're so focused on fixing one thing that your coach just told you that, oh my goodness, like I just missed a count. I'm late for something or I did the wrong leg or like you blank. Like for sure that happens sometimes. You just got to move forward and, trust that it won't happen again, but we've all been there too. So when that happens, it's just like it's just a fluke, a brain fart, not a big deal.
This one, what is your favorite piece of artistic swimming lingo?
I guess it's just what I think is funny with the sport is like all the time when we're trying to be on the same page, like we'll just be like, oh, the R7 or oh yeah, count eight. Yeah, like do 5, 6, 7. Like do 6, 7. Get the 6, 7. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like a normal person would be like,
Yeah, I have no
why are
idea
we
what you're
saying
talking
random
about.
numbers? Why are we saying R5, R6? It's R6, R6, R7, R5, R6. What are you talking about? So
No.
it's a language. Like I always think it's funny because I'm like, I just say, yeah, guys, it's 6, 7. Like get the 6, 7. Well, it's the count six, the count seven. That means think about where your arm or your leg position is in that exact count. But the counts are the whole routine. You're constantly counting an eight. So it's like, what 6, 7 is this? But we just know what we're talking about. But yeah, I
Oh
think that's
yeah, 'cause
pretty
it's
funny, pretty interesting.
So you're all just kind of figuring out like,
I'm
like
actually at the very, very front, the girl that's like looking back at the team. Because what happens is we dive in, our music hasn't started yet. Like we have, first of all, we have 30 seconds from when we start walking up the stage to when the music starts. So you have to be a little bit aware of like how much time you're spending getting into the pool, but it has to be a show from the start. So we just dove in. Now I'm looking behind for the team and I'm gonna like start like banging or tapping like this. And in my, okay, this is like another just fun fact about Synchro. Like sometimes we communicate the counts like by beeping, we call it, which like I'm gonna try to do it. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear, but it's like like this noise underwater. So like we dive in, I'm looking, and then I'm gonna cue the team like, okay, ready, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, and we surface, and then we like finish our choreography, and then we all pause and wait for the music to start. But it's like, like there's just it's I don't yeah, I guess I've never really explained that to somebody, but it's kind of funny because yeah, we
so
don't have music. We're just connecting, communicating, come up, finish our entrance, and then the music starts after this.
the only thing I thought of was like it's like whales communicating underwater, right? Like just through sounds and hand gestures.
I know it's
but
quite funny, honestly.
Once the music starts, is it all based around the music, or are you still kind of making noises
No,
and
making
it's
noises
gesturing?
and gesturing.
no. Like we only do the noises if like we don't have the music and then we're training and we go underwater, someone's counting the beat underwater just so we can still practice if we don't have music or if we want to just try something. Like in competition, you don't always have the music. There's lots of countries. But when the music comes on, you're listening to the music, you're counting the music, but like you can still somebody like sometimes you're still gonna bang or tap something if you need to if that part of the music is hard to count. Sometimes somebody will give like a like it's here sort of thing. Like there's still communication going, and even when we're swimming we talk to each other sometimes, maybe not in the actual competition swims, but every day in practice there's always someone like, all right, let's go, like, oh, reminder, like smile here, okay, not smile here, but think about this count, squeeze the pattern, like somebody shouting out something just to keep the communication so we can have like our best swim. So we communicate throughout, I would say.
That's cool.
Are you excited about 2024? Like, what's it like getting ready for the Olympics? Like, I'm going to the Olympics.
It's crazy. Like the whole experience is just like, first of all, it's like a dream. Like this is something you maybe had in your head. Like for me, I knew like in my heart, like I want to be an Olympian. I want to go to the Olympics, but it was kind of scary because it's like, am I really gonna get that goal? I don't know. Like I'm 12 years old. Like I'm not that good. I don't think. Who knows? But it was always this feeling in my heart, like, no, like if I know anything in my life, it's I want to be an Olympian. I want to be at this level. I might not know what I want to do for my career, or I don't know how I feel about other things, but I know that I want to be this Olympian. So to be here, and like most people on our team, like this is a dream we've had for years. Like we didn't just get to this point, like it's been 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 20 years of like hard work and just trying to get here. So now we're here. It's like there's no words that really describe it because it's so surreal. It's such a dream.
Yeah, that would be the one thing I wondered, right? Like, can you enjoy it? Or are you just so focused in?
It surprises me that you think that because I feel like most people are like, oh, of course, like it must be a dream. It's, like you're enjoying everything. But yeah, like it's hard. Like sometimes you're just so focused on like wanting to make improvements and wanting to be perfect that it is like you have to take a step back and be like, let's enjoy this, which I've been like very like me and my team like we've all spoken like yes, we want to enjoy this process. Like this is a once, maybe twice, maybe some people go 3 or 4 times to the Olympics, but like it's something that you've worked for and you just want to be proud, you just want to enjoy it. So I definitely remind myself like if something's a little bit off one day or you're struggling to do something properly, it's like it's okay. It's going to come together. You just want to enjoy where you are. And it's not just like our team, it's Team Canada. It's every sport, everybody that got to this level, all wearing like the same uniform and representing Canada, but then being with all the countries too, all the best of the best that have worked and dreamed for this. So it's like, yeah, it's exciting. Like I just want to soak up every minute.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Profoundly Pointless. Would love to hear from you, so comment below if you have an idea, feedback, or suggestion. Subscribe for more and explore something new. I'm so awkward.